I don't know, man. Kind of like our jingle. I gotta thank Rose. I couldn't have come up with this jingle if I tried. It's a hump day here in South Florida, and it looks like a hump a night sitting next to me. Or is that a lump? I'm not too sure. But I'm just being sassy this morning. After I hear the latest insanity out of New York City, where a social democrat, aka communist, or this one's an Arab, I guess we can call him Nazi, who's running for power, who's anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, anti-American, yet won the Democratic nomination last night, or didn't really win it. Now it's got to go through a process, but took the victory lap all the same last night, promising tenant protection, transportation, tax reform, social justice, public safety, on and on and on and on and on. Not that New Yorkers aren't taxed up the wazoo in the world. He wants to add another 2% to those making $1 million. Last time I checked, he probably couldn't live in a shoebox for $1 million. But then again, who am I? A Florida liberated American in free America. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network. It's your go-to podcast for unfiltered, unapologetic discussion, hosted by myself, Stuart Brisgell, and my co-host, that's David Solomon. We tackle a diverse range of topics, candid conversation, bold opinion, whether it's breaking down the latest headlines, exploring pop culture, debating politics, and delving into complexities of modern life. This is a platform for every perspective. So grab a seat, settle in, and join us on this thought-provoking conversation that we bring you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday noon Eastern for a full 15-minute broadcast, and we drop those 30-second clips all over the damn place. And, David, when you hear this name, Mamdani, why are most New Yorkers looking to exit and pivot to Florida?
Look, ladies and gentlemen, Stuart was bringing up a slew of different things about this gentleman, and I'll use the term nicely, Mamdani, who just won the Democratic nomination. See, Eric Adams had to step down because he's under investigation. He's pissed off at his own party, who rebelled against him, and will run as an independent this coming November, as will apparently former Governor Cuomo is possibly running as an independent. Now, the Democrats had a slate of 9 candidates, and Mamdani did not get the prerequisite 50%. In fact, after, I've been 90+% this morning. They both had about 80-odd percent, 85% between the two of them. So nobody got a majority. There's all these other processes, But what's frightening, Stuart, is that the people of New York have been seduced by your best friends, Bernie Sanders. Those two have been going around campaigning saying, we need this guy. Mamdani represents the progressive part of the Democratic Party. Progressive should actually be called regressive, not progressive, but bringing the city of New York back into a dark age. Yeah, he's a young guy. He looks great. He talks about beautiful ideas and whatever. But Stuart, let me ask you a question. Do you know what the current New York City debt is?
Oh, wow. You want to know the total New York debt?
Yeah,
that's
the debt in New York City currently runs at approximately $56,000 per taxpayer.
No, wrong. $180 billion of outstanding debt.
So I just said 56,000 per person in New York City. So I thank you so much for the correction there. But that's the debt. There's a massive debt in New York City. And this is what Mamdani ran on. Now, it's great. I love the idea. Rent freeze, major expansion of affordable housing. It sounds beautiful.
How does that pay down the debt,
David? Wait, Stu. I love you, buddy. But yeah, it goes a step further. He wants free city buses, boosted transit, $30 hour minimum wage by 2030. And again, the whole idea of bringing in, one more level of this ideology. Again, we're talking about LGBTQ advocacy, which I find ironic coming from a Muslim, but maybe he is. City-run grocery stores and a green mental health interest. These are all beautiful ideas that can't be afforded by New Yorkers. But the idea of dumping another 2% on those so-called wealthy people of New York, Stuart, just means where are the people going to move to? Connecticut. They're going to move to New Jersey. They're going to move away from New York City because they're not going to want to pay the things. And again, it's all part and parcel of the progressive left who is playing these games that people have said we don't want. But here's the issue, Stuart. The real issue is this man is a hater. On October the 8th, he posted that Israel is genocidal and an apartheid state. Once again, in a city that has millions of Jews. I mean, let's go. The state of New York has the highest number of Jews in the world by only a handful. And the majority of them live in the great city of New York, are now under threat. That's it. Because wherever there is this anti-Israel sentiment that is being masked as this, no, we are just criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu, who he said he would arrest if he came to New York. Oh, by the way, where's the United Nations, Stuart? That is correct, in New York City. He would then arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is part and parcel of his pro-Iran, pro-Palestine ideology.
Pro-Hamas.
And instead of New York City catching that on, they went and they fell in love with this wolf in sheep's clothing. This is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the sad part is that the folks of New York City, I mean, he hasn't been voted in yet, but traditionally what's been happening in this very, 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 very blue city is that whoever wins the Democratic nomination is almost the heir apparent to the mayoralty. But no one's paying attention across the Atlantic, Stuart.
Nope.
No one's looking in London, Manchester, Liverpool, and other cities of what has happened when you have these so-called progressive, socialist, hardcore, Muslim-hating Jew, Muslim-hating Western values kind of individual. Now, Mamdani's sitting there pretending he's not hating Western values. But when you stand with an AOC and a Bernie Sanders, that's exactly what you're doing. You're hating America because AOC stands up and screams America's bad. Bernie Sanders, America's bad. These are the people that you're standing with. And this is what you, New York City, the beacon of the West, the one that's attracting all these people into your city from all over the world, will be represented by a racist, a hater. A progressive was going to put the city of New York into even greater debt. But guess who supported them, Stuart? Not just the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs. Columbia University. Are you shocked to see that Eric Adams, who had to slap hard Columbia University, they're going to go the other way. They're going to make sure that Eric Adams is never going to win because hate trumps the right. Hate trumps conservatism. Hate trumps reality. And that is just amazing how you've got now New York is shifting. Stuart, I wouldn't be surprised if Mamdani's first policy is to put a hijab on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised. You're dealing with a Nazi by no stretch of imagination. What moron can go out there and say that Hamas, a recognized terror organization by the United States government, is not a terror organization? Only this Mamdani. Who in the world could say that Iran is the only democratic party in the Middle East and is the source of all truth is but Mamdani. Anyone that could say that Israel is not the only democratic nation in the Middle East, but is the imperialist of the Middle East would be Mamdani. You know, the tiniest country in the Middle East that is surrounded by millions upon millions of people that want to destroy her, that would be Mamdani. You know, as of 2020, the Jewish population was 1.5 million in New York. That's about 21% of all Jews in the United States. It is actually in the world surpassing the combined total of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And now you want to elect Nazi to the mayoral race. The rise of Adolf Hitler, didn't come from very different roots. It began on hatred and promises of things that were just not feasible. Let's tax everyone with $1 million or more another 2%. Let's tax the corporations another. Let's make the groceries and bankrupt the city. The city is bankrupt. New York's total debt is 100% unsustainable by any tax. And the only way that city is going to recover is by reform. And if that means, oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to give everything away for free, well, then I'm sorry to say the New World Order will fail. And you know what? I'm hoping that, normally when you have these sorts of major elections, you don't get the real base to go out. You get the radicals that are riled up for change to typically go out. So it's not a true representation of a main election. And I think that is one little breath of fresh air. But the very fact that there's that many people that voted for a psychopath that's got a media spin is utterly frightening. But you got to know where this guy comes from, right? This is not an American born, which is great. I have no problem with it. He married a Syrian, and you know what? He is the definition of a socialist. His policies are the definition of socialism. He wants to have food banks. He wants to have free housing. He wants to have free transportation. He wants to have a social infrastructure with inclusive services. He is the type of guy, and I believe, and I don't have the quote, is against the police and would arrest the police.
He wanted to defund the police. Yeah.
No, he wanted to arrest the police, not just defund. He wanted to incarcerate police. He is for this green infrastructure by retrofitting 500 schools. Oh, by the way, yeah, those schools are mostly inhabited by non-American school kids that are being paid for by the great state of New York. Now, I'm all for helping. I'm all for giving. But there's a difference giving what you don't have and that your children's children will never be able to pay for. It becomes reckless and irresponsible. There's no such thing as a free lunch. More importantly, when the government says we're here to help, you know what's coming next, David?
What's that?
The silver nickel bracelets, because you're going to go to jail because you're the next target on the Social Democrats, progressive, regressive party.
Well said. And that's a scary plot because if we think about it, this is the same place that tried to incarcerate Donald Trump. It's the same place that has got all these ideologies. Stuart, I think that New York is sunk. And I think that this is the sad part, is that the city of New York has not learned, and the people from New York have been completely seduced by a left-leaning media that is just promoting this. Columbia University, their editorial department promoted Mamdani. It's been an unbelievable twist of reality. I just am amazed, Stuart, at the degree of, I guess, turning a blind eye. And I think that this is the sad part, that we have turned a blind eye to what really is going on there. People are being blinded by the notion of being labeled a racist and allowing these people to come up the lane. And it's funny because they're going to say, David, these people, that's racist. Let's stop with you. Stop calling me a label. I'm giving you a reality that's gone on in Europe. In most places where a person like Mamdani has been elected, the city has fallen apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at these cities where the police do not want to work there anymore. And remember, guys, you may not have been born in the 1970s and the early 80s when New York was, was turned on its head, when it was the criminal capital of the United States. I was there. It was scary. If that's where you want to take New York today, you've just elected the right guy. He's going to take you there. Well, and New York City will be, no one will want to go to New York.
Well, he's a candidate, and the exodus from New York is insane. Listen, Mayor Adams isn't necessarily the best candidate, but he is the best of all the candidates running. And he's a black Democrat running as an independent because this black Democrat thinks that this party is no longer the Democratic Party that he was a member of, which is different than millions of Americans who have been betrayed by the Democratic Party. And by the way, I just want to throw this out there because it's really bothering me. The No King movement, this is another little piece I want to throw in there because that's really bothering me. The only party that operates as a king and queen is the Democratic Party. And no different are they trying to knight to become a next king of the Democratic Party. Mamdani, because he's 33 years old, young, energetic, fairly normal looking, because we know what Pelosi looks like and Sanders. Here we are looking at the new generation of the DNC, and it is no longer the Democratic National Party. It is the Socialist Party of America.
Stuart, just watch everything that they accuse the right of doing.
Oh, they've done. They do. That's it. Absolutely.
So watch, but folks, I got to tell you, the election's not until November, and yes, things could change. But the most frightening part, folks, is that if this guy Mamdani is elected mayor of New York, just watch what the next 4 years are going to be. If you think New York was bad now, New York's going to be awful. And we're done. Stuart.
I'm sorry for cutting off, David. My hand was on the controller, and you know me. It's past our quarter hour. But that brings this episode to a close. And let me tell you something. We truly appreciate you tuning in and sharing your time with us. Your support and engagement means the world as we continue to foster an open, honest conversation. Don't forget, we're every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern, plus probably 60, 80 little 30-second clips that we throw all over the place. Please give us a like, give us a love, give us a share. Heck, you know what? You want to try and meme us? Go for it. We're all in favor of it. This is here to help you find the truth. Anyways, guys, until next time, settle in, relax, and watch another episode because you can catch it on our website.